Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Planet Sky FF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And James is a lot closer to the £50,000 than I am. But, this was our learning year of getting our head into the game. And you're doing all right. Where are you up to, James? Top 1,000 now? You were 700 or so a little while ago.
395th.
Oh, the assault keeps rising. How many transfers do you have left, James?
7. Oh, actually, no. Was that 6? I've only made 1 in the last week, which I brought in Wan-Bissaka last night. That's the only change I've made. So that's worked out good. It wasn't looking great come Sunday, really, with Danny Ings, because I didn't have him. I took the Ismaila Sarr Watford path. I wasn't dropping off, but it looked like it was defining enough to cause me a massive problem. And yet, obviously, since then, Fernandes and Pope have picked me up like 60 points or so. Plus, I added Wan-Bissaka to the squad last night. It's 70 plus. So it's been a very good couple of days for me.
I've been flatlining at 20k. I made a transfer to bring in Jimenez on the Saturday instead of Aguero, now that we know Aguero's gone, to give me a captaincy option. But I left the armband on where are we now? On Sunday, I left it on Troy Deeney, which we spoke about. Was it worth getting rid of Troy Deeney or not? That didn't give me any returns. But Fernandes is my only saving grace at the moment. Yesterday, both in FPO and this, he's the boy, isn't he? Really. Every goal he scores, every point he scores in whatever game it is, his price next season just keeps creeping up by 0.2 million. But oh my God, he's first name on my team sheet for any fantasy game next year, regardless. At the moment, he's getting towards that way.
His Sky price next season is going to frighten the bejesus out of you, mate.
Sure,
it will be massive. I wouldn't even be surprised if he's pushing like the top priced player. Very, very close. I think he would be very high. Wouldn't be surprised if he's close to 12 million, him and KDB next season. Depends how open they want to keep the game, because right now, unfortunately, I mean, we've sat in most of the season bar KDB, little periods of Richarlison that, and really felt like it was worth going cheap in midfield. Now, KDB and Fernandes, I mean, if I could go 5-2-3 in this game, 100% I'd be doing it, mate, and it'd just be them two sitting in there, and I'd empty out at the moment.
So KDB is another interesting one who has been ticking along steadily. Obviously scored again the other day, and his value. Oh, the sun is coming through into my eyes. His value is only increased because he's now very clearly on penalties for City. So obviously now we've got that added point scoring.
Does anybody really feel like KDB being on penalties has made a massive difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an extra 4 or 5 goals.
I don't believe anybody's really sat there and gone, do you know what? He's on pens now. I think he's worth it.
No, it's not that. It's not that. He's gone from a 200-point player to 230-point player. There's 4 or 5 goals a season in those penalties. That's another 20, 30 points. That is a 10% increase in what he could potentially return. So he's gone from essential to you're mad if you haven't got him. Or you're a goalkeeper.
No one's
or
mad.
You're a goalkeeper.
No one's mad, but I wouldn't go without. I mean, sod that. I would rather, if you said to me now, right, you can only have KDB or pick any 3 other City players between now and the end of the season, I would just take KDB in this game.
Agreed. So since we've last spoken, we have some more news around the fixtures, and we've done a little bit of planning around game week 36 and 37 and where we could potentially see some more single game days and what have you. If anybody hasn't listened to our podcast that we put out yesterday, we looked specifically at game week 36 and game week 37 and where the permutations and combinations of those could potentially be. So do listen back to that if you want to get your head around it. And thank you to everybody that shared and retweeted. We did attack that as
partly FPL, partly Sky. So actually the Sky listeners might find particularly the first 15 minutes of that quite useful in terms of what fixtures can go where. I'm conscious of not completely repeating what I said yesterday. There is an element of guesswork, but there's also an element of certainty we can have about certain things as well. I think fixture-wise, most people want to know when is it going to be the announcement? I suspect 2 weeks ago we got it on a Thursday afternoon. So I think it's reasonable to expect something similar. Don't bank on getting it before the Sheffield United Tottenham kickoff. And if you haven't got it before kickoff, you won't get it till Friday. I don't think it'll be later than Friday.
So should we have a quick recap? Technically, we've got 2 days left of this game week, which is today and tomorrow. Who are you going to captain today, James, just for listeners?
Who am I going to captain today? I've got Aubameyang, so complete no-brainer for me.
Easy. Yeah, I'm sticking with Richarlison. I'm not making any moves to get anybody in. Leicester haven't been great since the restart, and I think Richarlison is an interesting shout. Everton not been too bad, so I'm going to go with him. And tomorrow is a bit of a choice with the Liverpool City game. Have you made your mind up what direction you want to go in?
Yes, I'm buying Harry Kane.
Okay, so you're going to completely move away from it. And is that in place of
I'm going to move Aubameyang to Kane. I've got 7 transfers left, I reminded myself. That'll bring me to 6. And I know 4 of the others that I'll be making. I'm leaving 2 for contingencies and perhaps an issue that I want to go and attack. But I'm going Harry Kane. As it stands right now, I'll be captaining him for Tottenham's next 6 games. I'm gonna go for it.
Sheffield United away.
Yeah.
We'll wait. We won't get. We might get early team news on. Well, we'll get early team news. That's 6 o'clock tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Kane is he's gonna play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't need to worry about it too much, mate.
And then Everton, Bournemouth, Arsenal. You're going to captain Harry Kane.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah.
And then you've got Newcastle and Leicester.
The two that are an issue, the only one from the next 4 that I foresee as an issue is actually the Bournemouth fixture because Manchester United play Villa on the same day. So you can make obviously a strong case to go Fernandes. Nearly everybody's going to go Fernandes. I feel like it's one where I might want to attack and go Kane and go a different route against Bournemouth side. I just feel Villa will sit a lot deeper than what Bournemouth will do. That's the personal opinion on the 2 fixtures. The Newcastle and Leicester fixtures depends where they land. Now, if Newcastle and Tottenham, for example, lands on the same day as Manchester City and Liverpool are playing, then I'm not going to captain Harry Kane. And at which point, actually, I would already think about reselling him. For me, I'm not going to advise anybody to go and buy Harry Kane. I think he's overpriced, but I'm going to go and attack him from a captaincy point of view to give me one last final differential push. If he gets me a goal a game in those 6 fixtures, which he's capable of doing as an average, I will finish very strongly because a lot of people are not going to be with. And he's a captainable option, bar that United Villa game in the next 4, where I think there are weak options and where people are going to take safe chances, like on players like Siyunku, for example, that day when Tottenham play Arsenal, for example.
Yep.
Arsenal's not a fixture from that point of view. You should have a fear about as captaining players against. It's not to say that they can't.
Player for sure.
It's not to say they can't beat us on the day, but am I going to fear captaining Kane against the? I mean, he fucking loves playing against them, doesn't he? Well,
yeah,
right?
But they've got David Luiz, so I think.
You're right.
Harry Kane in his pocket.
You're right. I'm going to go back to Siyuncu. No, I'm going to take a chance. I know. I feel the most listeners will be drawn towards Son. At 1.5 million cheaper, and that's okay. I don't think there's a lot in it. The way I've structured my squad, I can afford to pay the extra, and I think most people won't. And that's why I'm going to take the gamble on Harry. It'll be my captain tomorrow. What I would say is, if by the time the Everton game is finished on Monday night, and I'm not happy with it, I won't be frightened to change my mind and dip back into a United player, for example. The one thing being at his value as well is, I'll be able to get to any other forward, no problem. Even Salah at 0.2 more. Yeah.
Are there any other single game days? We've then got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to count up 6 game days in the next game week from Saturday through till next week Thursday. So are there any other single game days? Well, next week the only one is Everton Tottenham. But other than that, are there any other single game days in the future that you can see that you particularly need coverage for? The week after, we've only got Manchester United Southampton as a single game day. And if you haven't got Fernandes now, what rock have you been hiding under, really? Because he gives you ample coverage for that.
I think the one to be really cautious of is the potential Monday night fixture in game week 37, where I know the hub guys were saying it. I think Ian Parrin, who's done some really good work in terms of his workings, the general feeling is that it's most likely to be Bournemouth against Southampton. And I agree with that opinion.
Mm.
So, but I have a plan to get Danny Ings in on the Thursday before that. So from my own perspective, I'm okay. And I think that's a good time. I don't think if it ends up being Bournemouth Southampton, I don't think you need to sweat about it. You can go back to Ings for the Everton fixture next week, the Man United fixture on the Monday night, the Brighton fixture in game week 36, or let me say match day 36. That's likely to be a Thursday. So the end of a game week, you'll be getting a gain. There will always be gains with Danny Ings. So I think he's quite easy to get back to, actually.
Danny Ings is not a bad one to keep around.
The alternative, if it's not that game, by the way, is probably, I think, Brighton against Newcastle, which might cause some issues.
Well, I've got Dan Burns sitting there as a cheapie.
That's my very late plan as well, yes.
He's going to stick there as a cheapie for a little while now. They weren't good yesterday, but then United were, from minute one, they really dominated the game and the ball, and even when Brighton had their chances. So I still think Brighton will be okay defensively against some of the other teams. But if you're coming up against City, you can't judge any team coming against City, Liverpool, United at the moment. Because
the problem with Brighton is I think many might be tempted to go in for this Saturday when they play Norwich at lunchtime, and it will obviously enable moves. As I learnt with Nick Pope in the Manchester City game, and obviously I've had the returns very much back in the two fixtures since, they could get battered by Liverpool and Man City, right? You're looking at minuses. So I really like the idea of attacking the Southampton fixture on game week, match day 36. You're going to get the game where they've got 3 fixtures left and most teams have only got 2.
Yeah.
Likely to be a Thursday night fixture. You probably won't need to captain him because Manchester United will definitely play Crystal Palace on that Thursday night. But I like the 2 fixtures after Southampton as well, because Newcastle and Burnley, I tell you what, you could actually hit passing tier in those 2 fixtures, depending on the shape that Brighton plays. So it's a really good finish to go back into him defensively.
Yeah. I mean, no one wants minus points on a player, but you take ones and twos and with a 4.6 or
with him,
4.7.
if you got him in and you got you 3 2s, that'll do. Anything above that's a bonus. And that's the thought process you should have for it, really.
Exactly. Have you you said you planned out your 4 transfers? Do you want to talk about them and why?
Yeah, can do. So I moved for Wan-Bissaka last night for Jack Grealish. It was just a case of who am I bombing out of that midfield first, and I feel he was the obvious candidate, whereas Traore, I think, can still do a little bit of damage in the short term. And Ismaila Sarr is still a hold for me at the moment because he's going to come back round as a captaincy for me again at least once, I think.
Yeah.
So Jack Grealish, I mean, good timing as well with Villa going to Liverpool on the Sunday. You feel like you're getting more than the one game. Wan-Bissaka plays twice before he plays again, right? If I did want to go back, which I'm not going to. Just felt I need to get something in defensively. A little bit of regret not going for Harry Maguire. But Wan-Bissaka has the dual threat at the moment of the potential assists. It's 2 assists in 2. And obviously the tackle bonus he's always capable of. Although it feels in the circumstances and the opposition that they've got that he's probably less likely to get them at the moment.
They keep so much of the ball.
But he'll cover a lot of what he had Maguire. So Maguire at the moment, he's basically Van Dijk version 2. Since lockdown, in terms of he was nearly in passing tiers at half time last night, near enough.
Yeah.
So he's going to pick up a shitload of passing numbers while we're in this lockdown. But Wan-Bissaka covers most of it off and offers slightly different returns. And the small saving might be quite important to me. There's only 0.3 between them. Plus I went Maguire in FPL and I forgot it wrong twice. I wish I'd had that the other way round, Maguire in Sky and Wan-Bissaka in FPL, by the way. But there you go.
Yeah,
that's the transfer I've made. Put me on 7. Aubameyang to Kane tomorrow.
Yeah,
I want to make 2 moves on Sunday. One is definitely Jared Bowen of West Ham United, who I'm not seeing talked about. Just want to give you some numbers on Bowen, since obviously he came into West Ham, because there's something I noticed which has definitely pushed me into this. So I'm not going to get him tonight for the Chelsea fixture. It just doesn't appeal enough. No captaincy, anything like that. He started 4 games since he joined you. He played a couple of 1-pointers, City and Liverpool, which you can rule out them 2 fixtures anyway.
Correct, yeah.
He's played 4 games, 16 points, 4 points, 5 points, 4 points in his start. So in the Southampton game, he'd obviously scored. He hit shots here, tackled here, goals here. Lost to Arsenal, he hit shots here. Lost to Wolves, tier 2 tackles. Lost to Tottenham, tier 1 tackles. He's like a mini Richarlison, mate.
Yeah,
and I'm really surprised that I'm not hearing people talking about him as a differential to go and attack for a period of Newcastle, Burnley, Norwich, and Watford.
Yeah, and there's
really like him.
3 days between all of those fixtures. So you've got 4 games in a 9-day period, right?
Do you see, even with that little period, do you see him being left out at all?
We can't leave him out.
No, I agree.
If he gets left out, there'll be uproar. Who are we going to bring in? Snodgrass, who's injured at the moment. Maybe he gets fit. That's like, Snodgrass, Noble, and Aaron Creswell. Pure dad's army. That's all we are, right? So I don't mind Snoddy, to be fair. He's done all right this season. But if we drop Bowen, the fans will get pissed off. And he's our best player at the moment. He's one of our best players at the moment. Rice could put his hand up and say he is. So, yeah, I think when you put the passing tiers and tackle tiers into that kind of context, it's a very good pick to go with. And, yeah, maybe. You wouldn't want to captain him.
7.9. I'll get 3 games out of him and a captaincy. And the final captaincy at the moment would be the Watford game, which we know almost certainly that West Ham will play Watford on the Tuesday of match day 36. And Chelsea will play Norwich the same day. I tell you what, unless I know the Chelsea team ain't buying any of them, that's where I'm at with that now, because I was set originally that I was going to go and buy Mason Mount tonight. And I just think I'm walking back into a problem in the midfield area again. So I want to empty it. So my idea at the moment is I'm going to get rid of Sarr and Bowen immediately after that West Ham-Watford game. Get gains. So by going to Bowen on Sunday, I'm getting gains over all the Saturday teams this week, and then getting rid of him on the Tuesday in match day 36. Yeah. I'm getting 4 games versus some people's 2, plus a captaincy in there. And like I said, he's like mini Richarlison in terms of his returns. I think in those fixtures, he's really worth a gamble. And I think going in on Sunday against Newcastle feels like the right time to do it, to eke out the value. I don't suppose people are considering selling their Manchester United assets from last night to get in today, for example.
No.
You could make a case to jump from Traore to Bowen today if you've got that sort of thing. But then I fancy Traore against Arsenal more than Bowen against Chelsea tonight, for example. Yeah. So I think Sunday, for those run of 4 fixtures, feels like the right time. West Ham are likely to have a really big gap between 36 and 37, by the way, where they're probably not going to play Manchester United, definitely not till at least the Wednesday, probably not till the Thursday. You could even make the case you will get 2 games out of almost every other team, and you could go back to him for the final 2 again if you wanted to. So, yeah, Jared Bowen is almost 100% for me as long as he comes through the game unscathed tonight. And then it's just the case I need to decide whether I'm going for Jesus or Riyad Mahrez from Raul Jimenez.
And that's in what game day, sorry?
That's on the same day on Sunday.
Right, okay.
So I want to attack that, get the information of tomorrow's Man City-Liverpool fixture and then decide which way I want to attack it. My original thoughts was Jesus, because the opposition that City have and the amount of goals he can get, etc. But the reason I really like going for Mahrez is I'm basically going to go 4-5-1. 5-4-1 for a little period where I'm going to have Harry Kane only up front. Yeah. And I'm emptying out the midfield. With my plan at the moment, I'm intending to finish with a midfield of Fernandes, De Bruyne and Mahrez if I go down that route. No rubbish with it. Dan Burn will be my only cheapie. And I'm flooding from the places where I feel the most points are coming in this game. And I feel it's the defensive passing tiers and the power of those 3 particular midfielders who are really capable of damage. You could throw Richarlison into that mix if you've got a preference. But they're the ones in midfield at the moment, and certainly for the running of the fixtures those guys have got. And then I'll probably sell Kane, for example, to add Salah or something similar for the final 2. The other two transfers I know is that Thursday I've already spoke of. I mentioned Dan Burn when Brighton play Southampton. My intention is also to get Danny Ings that evening as well.
Right.
That leaves me 2 spare for contingencies attack at the end.
Just out of interest, James, is there a Manager of the Month prize in this?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So with 13 transfers, I should really try and win Manager of the Month for July, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
That's my goal now, to win.
What are you going to do with these transfers, mate?
I'm going to start making some.
That would be a bloody good idea, mate.
Right, if I win Manager of the Month for the prizes, here we go. Let's have a cheeky look at it.
Yeah, but Sid, you'll do something dumb, right? Where you'll do all the transfers, you'll do really well, and then on the final day of the season, you won't set a captain or something.
The Manager of the Month wins a choice of console.
Right, okay.
I'll pick a
dildo.
I'm going to ask him for a Sega Mega Drive. Or a Neo Geo from back in the day. I'm going to ask him for the most obscure console.
Commodore
64. Let's see if we can get one of those bad boys. It's got to be a PlayStation 5, isn't it? And then I'll probably just sell it on eBay.
Yeah, standard.
I don't play consoles. What can you do? Now, I think my kids will quite appreciate it.
Put it up as a prize for the listeners. Oh no, your kid's going to hate me now.
No, they don't know. They don't know any better, James. Should we get into some Twitter questions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let me find where they are. Let's have a look. Looking forward to the games tonight, to be fair, and especially the West Ham Chelsea game. It's a real hit for nothing for us. We've got to just take a free swing at it and see what we can get out of it. Right. Rob Pick, who do you think the best captain option in City versus Liverpool? If you own a Spurs asset like Son, do you take that route instead? This is something where I asked you who you're going to captain tomorrow. I've got the choice of Van Dijk or Kevin De Bruyne. Do I go with the safe certainty of a Van Dijk with his passing tiers and he might just pick up a 4 or 5?
It's not a safe certainty tomorrow, though.
Or do you go with Kevin De Bruyne that has the potential to be a little bit more explosive? I've gone with De Bruyne at the moment, I'll be honest with you.
I would go De Bruyne. Yeah, personally. There isn't the safety in Van Dijk of clean sheet or passing numbers tomorrow night. So if I had just Trent and Van Dijk tomorrow night, for example, I'd actually go Trent on that particular fixture. De Bruyne, for me, would be the choice if you've not got any Spurs coverage. And there's
the other choice, just sidestep.
It's okay to still go De Bruyne. Yeah, Son, I think timing-wise, for anybody who's got Aubameyang, the Spurs timing comes really nicely, where it's almost... I think if you're an Aubameyang owner, particularly should he blank today, which I think he'll return, then you're going to look at Kane and Son tomorrow, and it's going to be really difficult not to jump away, whether that's your plan or not, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think many people make that move. A lot of people also looking to move from Jimenez to perhaps Kane or Son for Monday night, for example. Or is the other one we know because of potential tackles. And the chance of Spurs clean sheets with the fixtures and the lockdown situation have increased. I just think there's too many times where you're going to want to captain him to feel comfortable about it personally. Bless you, Such.
Hay fever's back, man.
I think what I would say about Kane tomorrow and Son is, and this is really important, this is where Sky is helpful. It won't stop me with my plan. But I've said this on other podcasts this week, that I think if O'Connell plays, Sheffield United will win. And if he doesn't, I think Tottenham will win. I think it's that important to the game structure tomorrow and how Sheffield United set up. So I wouldn't, if O'Connell's not playing, I really wouldn't hesitate on Kane or Son. If O'Connell is playing, then I can certainly see why people would think I'll give Aubameyang or Jimenez or whomever the extra game. I can definitely see that.
Is my cat playing? Gary, how are you doing, Gary? Is tomorrow too early to buy and captain a Chelsea player? Looks like they're tomorrow now being today, because he asked the question yesterday. So just for time stamping. Looks like they're a Tuesday game versus Norwich on the 14th of July, so would cover a captaincy issue then. The only issue is no team news, so who? I think you've answered that, haven't you, by saying you're not going near Chelsea unless you have team news, and even then you don't know where to go with it.
Pulisic 10.1 is pricey for a guy who's picking up injuries every other week. We don't know if he's going to play tonight, for example. Mount is the one who offers real value at 7.3, and of course, so does Abraham up front at 8.3. Got any faith they're going to play?
No.
I think what's happened with Chelsea is they've got a little obsessed looking at the fixtures: West Ham, Watford, Palace, Sheffield United, Norwich, and from a fixture perspective, knowing absolutely that I should attack it. The thing with the Norwich game as well, which is match day 36, we know it's going to be the Tuesday almost certainly. There's then likely to be over a week gap until they play Liverpool. So for fixture and timing wise, it's the perfect time to come back off. Now, the only time I can see me wanting to attack them now is the Norwich fixture, if I've got the team news. And it could be that if I've got the team news and Giroud's definitely starting up front at 9.3, or Abraham, I might just pile into him for the one game because it's against Norwich and then come back off. Part of my potential contingencies. But I can't see a way in where you can trust them.
Yeah.
Personally, Mount just feels like a next Grealish problem waiting to happen at the moment. And I'm not saying people should definitely get rid of Jack Grealish, but I think, look, we've gone through these fixtures. If you're still holding, it's Liverpool and Manchester United next. I wouldn't feel guilty about getting rid.
No.
And I think Grealish owners will look at Mount tonight. That's why I got rid of Grealish last night.
We've got another question from Rob Pick. He has 5 transfers left. What's the best move away from Reece James of these 3 options?
Yeah, we've been talking to Robert about this. I think at the moment it's a hold.
Yeah, he's got Nketiah pre-Norwich and captain him, Greenwood pre-Bournemouth, or Burn pre-Norwich and captain him. I think Greenwood pre-Bournemouth. Is that after
I think it's the reason I think it's a hold. If, as much as I've said, I can't really find a way in and who to trust with Chelsea. If I had the money, I'd pay the extra for the Rudigers or something, to be honest with you. If you've already got, I would hold until after the Watford fixture on Saturday night and reassess your options Sunday, for example, because there's things that could happen here that will change your mind, I think, in these West Ham and Watford fixtures. And it might be you get rid and you want to go back. So I would hold at the moment, would be the advice on that, and then reassess that situation after Saturday night. If he doesn't play either of these West Ham or Watford fixtures, then you need to find a different way. The problem is he's at a really, really awkward price point. If you're struggling money-wise and you want to take a punt and you've got the space to manoeuvre in your squad, Reece James to Mason Greenwood is not the maddest transfer you will ever hear.
No. He looked good yesterday, didn't he?
He's the same price, Mason Greenwood.
Took his first goal very well.
I did have a little bit of regret at not getting him because, I'd said that when everyone was talking about Martial after the Sheffield United game, he really caught my eye out, and I thought, particularly for FPL, his value was astonishing. And actually, it would be for this if you knew he was going to play. Stick him in rather than a Reece James at the moment, for example. And again, empty out the midfield to get the money up there. But when I was reassessing last night, I was like, there was no way I could go to him for Sky. It just didn't make sense. And he's probably not going to for a lot of people, but he's a getaway for a lot of people. And I think if you're struggling with funds, it's worth leaving yourself that as a possible move. Mason Greenwood. I think it's going to start the majority of Manchester United's remaining games, and we shouldn't be scared to look at that. If I had to buy one of him, Rashford or Martial in Sky now, I would buy him, honestly.
It leads on to Dan Cox's question about captaincy for the next week. We spoke about a few of them. Let's go Saturday to Thursday. Next Saturday, any thoughts on who to captain? Fernandes against Bournemouth, surely?
Yeah, that's me all day long, I think.
Yeah.
It's the obvious one. A lot of people, those who don't have Fernandes will look at certainly Jimenez or Aubameyang in that Wolves-Arsenal fixture, but I don't really see how you can look beyond Manchester United in that Saturday fixture. Admittedly, you don't get the teams, but I think you've got to go for it.
The Sunday game, is that that's Liverpool-Villa. Is that a straightforward Van Dijk or Trent?
Probably, unless something nudged me in the City-Liverpool fixture. So, for example, De Bruyne only making a cameo substitute appearance, which with Pep we can never rule out, would probably push me into captaining him against Southampton. I think because it's Villa, I might lean towards Trent rather than Van Dijk on the Sunday, just because I know Villa are very capable of complete capitulation in games against sides like
Liverpool. He'll pick up an attacking return or two, potentially.
So it could be that Van Dijk could hit the basic 10 but Trent will get the attacking returns. Where oddly enough, Liverpool play at home to Burnley the following week, and I would almost definitely lean into Trent because of Burnley's power at set pieces and stuff like that. Interestingly, so
On
it
the
could be that I
Monday-
go Trent Sunday and Van Dijk the following Sunday,
week.
possibly.
Saturday for the Burnley game, from what I can see at the moment. for
Oh, is it
Liverpool.
Saturday? Yeah,
Saturday,
Match day 35 Saturday, yeah.
Just the Monday games, Everton, Tottenham. You're going Harry Kane. I'll be on Richarlison because I'm not buying a Spurs player before then.
There's some interesting alternative. I mean, we haven't spoken about Everton, but Calvert-Lewin is amazing value, actually. You could leave him in there. It's okay. And Richarlison, we know, can do bits in this game. It's not a problem at all. You could potentially target that today. You'll get the team against Leicester, but there's no reason to think those two won't play every Everton game left. I think it's going to pass me by, though, because other than the Tottenham game, if I went without Tottenham, I don't see, even at Richarlison's value, I'm not too sure where often I'd use him as a captain, actually. But they definitely offer alternatives to Tottenham. And I wouldn't say to anybody, you don't do that. It's absolutely fine. But I'll be Kane.
The Tuesday is Arsenal, Leicester. You've got Chelsea at Palace, and then you've got Watford at Norwich.
Yeah, it's a really awkward one. If Aubameyang owners can hold their nerve, it's probably still him, actually. A lot will go into this with not many players that night. And it's one where you keep looking at Chelsea. Is that the one to attack them? I'm pretty sure. Am I right in saying they're the 8 o'clock that night as well? Or are they 6 o'clock?
I'm not sure the time of that fixture.
Do you know what? That's quite important. I'm going to have a quick look for that. So they are at 6 o'clock. So you would have the benefit of that Palace fixture of knowing the team. And therefore, that could be an entry point, actually.
For Chelsea.
But I'm going Ismail Assar. If I'm holding on to him, if he's going to return in a game going forward, Norwich. The one thing I like about Watford is following Chelsea game on Saturday night, there's then Norwich, Newcastle, West Ham. And I can make a decision once I get to West Ham against Watford, whether I go Bowen or Sarr captain, depending on how I feel. And then I'm getting rid of both. So Sarr's going to hang around for a little bit longer for me. If I'm going to be nervous about captaining him against Norwich, I probably shouldn't bother. But the alternative is, yes, you can attack Chelsea, of course, because you will know the 6 o'clock fixture. Or the team is, rather.
Anything on the Wednesday that catches your eye? I mean, Liverpool at Brighton and Man City at Newcastle are two obvious fixtures that stand out.
This one's different because you get the Man City team. So don't even think twice about it, really.
Yeah.
Whichever one you've got, he's playing. And if you haven't, get one.
Yeah. And then the Thursday, the last one, Fernandes against Villa, surely. You're going Kane.
I might go Kane, yeah.
Which is good, which I'm not against. Like, you're at that point where you've got to go for it, really. So,
a little bit.
I'm
too far off to finish first. But look, if he had the week like he had that match day 37 in 16-17, then I'm back in it, right? Because no one else is going to be making that sort of move. You scored a hat-trick at the Vitality before. If somebody said to me, Bournemouth v Tottenham, Aston Villa versus Manchester United, who should I captain in Sky? I would say to them, Fernandes. So please understand that I'm doing it for my own personal reasons. Fernandes, I think in every game left, bar maybe the final game, I can't see me not captaining him. He's a gem of a footballer, and he's brilliant for this game as well. Just picks up little bits of everything.
Should have had a hat-trick yesterday, bar the width of a post.
Bar Oli Solskjaer.
Yeah,
mind you, must be said, the first goal, I wouldn't be surprised if he loses that goal, you know.
What happens in fantasy if that happens? They just leave the
nothing.
Points,
it's declared now, isn't it? So unless, I think we've got to be within an hour or two, isn't it? I'm not sure on the Sky ruling, but it's still got to be decided pretty quickly once they've made their original decision. So no, you wouldn't lose your points now or anything.
Right. Let's rattle through a few more of these questions before we wrap up, James. Are you looking to double up on any teams? That's coming from Chris, FPL Addict. Just a little shout out to Chris. He's our Clash of the Correspondents next week, so make sure you tune into that. Looking forward to chatting to you, Chris. And he's also got an article up on the website about West Ham's running. So triple bubble for Chris here. Any teams looking to double up on? Definitely United, goes without saying. One defensive plus Fernandes. And if you really fancy that, going in Greenwood. You can't ever look away from a City double up potentially as well.
The reason I particularly like Greenwood is if people want to take that route, and I'm not suggesting that Saturday doesn't feel like a good entry point, really, unless there isn't. Saturday's not a good entry point for it, but what it would allow you is where you're sitting there with midfielders at the moment that you hate, it will allow you, if you're brave enough, to come off your likes of Grealish or Traore and get to Mahrez. That's part of my point. And my end goal on this, like I said, is to end with a midfield three of Fernandes, De Bruyne and Mahrez, and I'm emptying it out and the power stays in there. To do that, my sacrifice is Dan Burns, Yunshu, and only going one up front and then two up front with Kane and Ings, which is not the highest amount of value if you think about it. It's 10.5 million each. And it could be by that point as well that I come down from Kane to Jesus, for example.
Yeah.
Then I'm looking at Pope to Ederson. Those are two potential final moves for me. So Man City, if you've got the cojones and you can put up with the rotation, there's a lot of talk about Phil Foden at the moment because he offers great value. It's not one that I'm considering. I think that's one, again, where you're looking at alternatives to problems with players like Jack Grealish at the moment. Is he capable? Of course he's capable. He's also capable of sitting on the bench and not doing very much for you. If he's playing every week, you automatically say, yeah, go and get him.
Yeah.
City, United, yes, are the main ones. And obviously you can't discount Liverpool. I've got Trent and VVD at the moment, and I'm intending for it to stay that way with both, which means, yeah, I'm going to go without the likes of Salah and Mane for some of these very good fixtures coming up. But I feel it's a small window between Villa in 33 and Burnley in 35 to go and attack. Where, interestingly, just by the way, for those on the likes of Fernandes, and this is worth considering, you can jump off. They play Bournemouth on a Saturday. You can get 3-for-1 Liverpool fixtures, Man City fixtures, Tottenham fixtures, plenty of teams before Man United play Southampton on the Monday of match day 35. And for those who are blessed with transfers, that's a really, like you, for example, Serge, on Sunday, you shouldn't have any Manchester United players in your squad.
Yeah.
You should hammer out and hammer back in. The one negative of the one, if you skip the one, it is Aston Villa that you're skipping. But Liverpool 3 against Villa, Brighton, Burnley, and missing Man United against Burnley. Think about that. Feels very, very worth it.
Indeed. Pete at Milo4727 want to bring in a Spurs player for next week. Which one, Kane or Son? He's got budget for either. I mean, it's Kane, surely. Son hasn't looked himself. Hang
on. Everybody's listening to this right now and going, Kane hasn't looked himself, etc. I know, I get that.
Yeah.
I saw enough signs in the West Ham game. The other important thing with Kane is, and this has never happened for him before when he's had injuries, he obviously was allowed to train properly. And I explained this on one of our main podcasts last week about the huge difference between fitness and match fitness. Right, Now he's played 290 minutes. Now he's got the match fitness. And rather than having to play every 3 days, which is normally like what happens to him when he comes back from injury, he's now had a 9-day break to train and sharpen more. So for me, truthfully, it's a little bit on instinct. It's knowing that if games do become open, which most Tottenham games admittedly won't, he'll hit the shot tiers and stuff like that. And capability. I won't advise anybody else to go and buy Harry Kane. However, to answer this question, yeah, I agree. Take the chance. And if you hate it as well, and you think, I've made a big error here, or Kane gets injured and you need to drop it down to Son, you can drop it down to Son. Kane gets injured again on Thursday night, what am I doing? I'm buying Heung-min Son on Monday.
Yeah.
That's where I'd be at.
And the last question, James, we'll give that one to Abra Batman Joe. Amra Batman. Interesting old question.
Just call him Joe.
Joe. How you doing, Joe?
His name is Joe, by the way.
What's happening with the Sky FF Knockout Cup? I'm still in it, but I don't really know how it works. I have no idea about the cup.
Still in it?
Yeah.
Christ, long forgotten about that. Get more points than your opponent. It's quite simple, really. I mean, if you're still in it, you should be considering what you're doing. You might be lucky enough to be walking into a team that wasn't dead and it is now dead.
Yeah, there's £1,000 cash for the winner, 250 quid for the runner-up. And it's just a straightforward knockout competition. Each week you'll get drawn against someone.
If at this stage your league position is awful and you don't care about it, as in your overall or your mini leagues or whatever, and you want to attack that cup competition, one piece of strong advice I should give you is don't make transfers on the first day, be it whether that's the Saturday or the Tuesday. Yeah. Save your transfers. Then you've got an analysis of how well you're doing against your opponent, whether you want to hold whatever you've got back for a next match or if you will need to go and attack that match.
There we go. There's only 5 rounds left of the cup. So if you are still in it, then you're getting very close to... That would mean that there's only a handful of teams left in it now.
Oh, yeah, no, that's worth attacking. How many game weeks did you say?
5.
It should be 6, shouldn't there? I think.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure that includes this week. So
on my maths, that should mean there's only 64 left.
That's a good chance to win that £1,000. So good luck if you are.
It's still 1 in 64.
So, James, that's another Sky FF in the can. Thank you guys for listening again. Apologies if we didn't get to your questions. The number of questions is increasing now as time's going on and more people are playing the game. So thank you again if you have sent anything in. This week, we still have for you a live stream on Thursday. James is going to be streaming and Ask James if you want to jump on and ask any other questions. And if you do have a Sky question, that's also welcome there as well. And then on Friday, once this game week is wrapped up, be ready for a full and fast rundown of all of the Game Week 32 games and a preview into Game Week 33. The full podcast will be out on Friday. It's definitely going to be one to listen to. That's it from my side. James, anything else to add?
Yep, deadline stream on YouTube, 10:30 a.m. on Saturday as well. Be mainly more FPL focused, but we can certainly take on Sky questions as well. So join me for that 10:30 Saturday if you're indecisive about any late decision moves.
The podcast is available everywhere you're listening right now, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, etc. What would really help us is if you subscribe wherever you're getting the podcast. It will help you too because you'll get notified as soon as any new shows go live. And if you haven't rated or reviewed the podcast, then we'd really love it if you do. Just leave us a 5-star review or 4-star review, whatever you want to do, thumbs up, whatever it may be.
I don't know why you pulled a face then. I can see your face. You look like you're taking a dump.
Oh, sorry. I was about to say that I haven't read any of the reviews for a while. So
your face really didn't match the words that were coming out of your mouth.
I need to read some of these reviews as well. I was about to say, I haven't read any reviews for ages, to be honest with you, Jay. So I'm going to jump in and read some reviews over the weekend. So if
you might not like them.
Review, water off a duck's back, James. Do that. And of course, if you want even more content from us, then head over to patreon.com/planetfpl. For as little as £8 a month, you'll get an extra 15 to 20 podcasts, depending on the game weeks and what have you. Usually around 20 podcasts. So as James calculated, it's about 35, 40p per show. Ridiculous. So do that. And obviously it helps us keep the lights on and all of that kind of stuff. That's it. That's the wrap up. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Good luck, everybody. Cue music, man, child.